Hello, am I audible to everyone? Please let me know in the comment section if I'm audible to everyone. Hello. Okay. Great.
Yes, go on.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, my Master Course family, and good evening to everyone who's watching this webinar. So, I am Yash Bansali, and along with me, I have my colleague Varun Desen. We are both pursuing MBA, and we are from NL Dania Institute of Management Studies and Research. And today, I would like to give you an overview and brief about Varun Beverages in terms of its equity research and valuation.
Good morning, all. Uh, I first give the brief info about the Varun Beverages. Varun Beverages is engaging in manufacturing, selling, and the bottling and the distribution PepsiCo product for PepsiCo in India, and is the second largest franchisee in the world for carbonated soft drinks and non-carbonated drinks also outside USA. And now talk about the parent company of the Varun Beverages, mm, RJ Corp. It's the Ravi Jaipuria Corporation, and they have a subsidiary Divyani International Limited, which owns the franchisee of KFC and Pizza Hut. And the Beverages institutional sales come from KFC and Pizza Hut, and around 10% come from these two franchisee. Now talk about the third subsidiary is Divyani Food Industry Limited, where they have a brand Cream Bell, and then they have a Crayovia Biotech Private Limited and the RJ Crop Retail Limited. In this subsidiary, they have an outlet for Nike and the Rocky USA, around 34 Nike outlets in the north. Now, these are the board of directors. Ravi Jaipuria and the Varun Jaipuria are the only family members who are in board of directors, and all are independent. Now, talk about the managing director, Ravikant Jaipuria. He is the promoter and the founding chairman of the Varun Beverages Limited. He has around 3 decades of experience in this field. He is the only bottler who manufacture product for Coca-Cola as well as PepsiCo, and he have a good experience in this field. Now talking about the key managerial personals, Mr. Kapil Agrawal, full-time director, Vikash Bhatia, Chief Financial Officers, and third is Mr. Ravi Batra, Chief Risk Officer and the Group Company Secretary, and Manmohan Rupal Paul, Chief Operating Officer of Sales. All of them are around 20 to 25 years of experience in their field, and most of them are with the company from last 20 years. Now talking about the company snapshot, uh, they have cover around 1.35 billion customers all over the India, and 2 million retail outlets in the world, and 34 manufacturing unit in the world. Out of them, 32 in India and 6 in overseas, and 11,000 plus employees, and 500 million cases sold every year, and we take the 1 unit case is equals to around 6 liters. Now talk about the stock performance. We compare the Varun Beverages stock performance with the Nifty. Uh, the Varun Beverages stock performance is parallel with the Nifty, but when the after COVID, it's impacted. The main reason the prices is impacted is their revenue mainly come from this quarter only, but due to the problem of the COVID, due to the problem of the COVID, they are facing problems, and due to this, their revenue are decreasing. but from last 3 years they are giving consistent return, and around 30%, 21% of the return from last 3 year, and around 13% from last 1 year. Now talk about the shareholding pattern. When they are listed, the promoter shareholding is around 73%, but in September 19 they sold the stake because they want a acquisition of the other territories in West and the South India. For this they issue a QIPs, and due to this institutional holding is increasing from 20 to 25%. Now promoter holding is around 68%. Now talking about the symbiotic relationship with the PepsiCo. Uh, PepsiCo part is to demand creation, and Varun Beverages part is demand delivery. All the advertisement, formation of the concentrate, and the consumer pool management, brand development, all done by PepsiCo. And Varun Beverages manufacture, distribute, and also we provide VC coolers to the retail customers, and consumer pools management, market share gain. These are the things done by the Varun Beverages, and they have long 28-year of relationship with PepsiCo, and 80% of the PepsiCo sales come in India. Now talk about the what Varun Beverages pay to the PepsiCo. Around 14% of the sales uh, pay to the PepsiCo for concentration, advertisement, and royalty. For advertisement, they give 6%, for royalty 1%, and for concentration 7%. Now talk about the business operations. They have carbonated soft drinks segment, where around 71 to 72% revenue come from this segment. Packaged drinking water segment, around 7% revenue come from this segment, and fruit juice segment, remaining 22% come from this segment. And these are the products of the Varun Beverages. And PepsiCo have a tendency to introduce a product which have a regional touch. So they introduce the 7 Up masala, and in every country they introduce the regional product. For example, in Japan they introduce the strawberry flavor in the carbonated soft drink also here. Now talking about the fruit juice, they have Tropicana brand, and in which they have slice fruits. And third is ambient temperature value added dairy products. It's a new product they launching in 2019, because there is an increase in demand of the dairy product in the market. So they introduced this product in the brand name of Cream Bell. And they have energy drink also, uh, Sting. They have sports drink Gatorade, and the iced tea Lipton, and you all know about the Aquafina. Now, the industrial analysis will explain by Yash.
So I'll start with the industry analysis. So it is basically divided into three segments. First being carbonated soft drinks market, second being fruit pulp juice-based drinks market, and the third being packaged drinking water. Firstly, I would like to talk about the carbonated soft drink market. So it is forecasted to accelerate with a CAGR of around 6.7% from 2018 to 2022 or 23, which will drive the market to a value of around $12 billion in 2023. If you see the chart on the left hand side, it shows per capita consumption in terms of bottle. So firstly, I'll explain you what does per capita means. So per capita consumption is the yearly use of goods by each person. But in terms of Varun beverages, it is their products, which is which is products like Pepsi, Tropicana, and others. So the per capita consumption in terms of bottle, if you see in India in the year 2016, it was 44, and it is forecasted to go around 84, which is almost gonna double in the year 2022. In US, it is around 1496, and it will drop down a little bit to 1490. In Mexico, it was 1489, and it is expected to rise a little bit to around 1600 levels. And in Brazil and China, it is also expected to go up a bit. And if you see on the right hand side, you will see a chart of the VBL's market per capita consumption. This is specifically where VBL services its products. In India, if you see, which I already talked about, the market, the demand for these products will be double. This is also one of the reasons for that is also government's target to achieve 100% electrification of villages, which will drive the per capita consumption of soft drinks market in India, owing to the owing to the rising penetration of cooling infrastructure in these regions. And if you see in Nepal, in 16 it was 44, and in the year 22, which is expected, it will be around 105. So it is also going to double. In Sri Lanka, it was 16, and it is expected to be around 30. In Zambia, there will be a minor growth from 19 to 20, and in Morocco, from 275 in 2016 to 471 in 2022. So as you can see, VBS market is very underpenetrated, and there's a huge scope of expansion. Now talking about the juice market. So the juice market in India registered around 5% CAGR from 2013 to 2018, with a sales value of around 18,900 million in 2018. And it is expected to grow at a rate of around 10.1% volume CAGR, and much of this growth will also be due to the rising health awareness for healthier variants of juices. If you see on the right, I want to talk about the packaged drinking water category, and it is expected to reach around it's expected to reach an value of around 403 billion by 2024. And based on the volume, the market is expected to reach about 35.53 billion liters by 2024, which is about 13.2% CAGR from 2018 to 24. If you can see the chart on the slides, it shows the overall industry growth for all these markets, all these segments. The carbonates, which are the carbonated soft drinks like Pepsi, Mirinda, Fanta, Sprite, those grew at a rate of around 6.5% from 2013 to 18, and is expected to grow about 6% from 18 to 24. Whereas the water market grew at a rate of 18.4% and is expected to grow at a rate of 13.2%. And the juice market, which grew at a rate of 15%, will grow at a rate of 10% ahead. And the total overall industry growth will be about 11.9%, which was in from 2013 to 2018, and it will be around 9.4% from 2018 to 2024. So, as we all know that that the industry is dominated majorly by two major brands. One of them is Pepsi, and the other is Coca-Cola. But there are also other players, and hence I'd like to give you an overview about the industry. There are different segments, and I'd like to go talking about each one of them. On the occasion of the carbonated soft drink market, PepsiCo has offerings in Pepsi, Mirinda, 7-Up, Nimbus, Mountain Dew, whereas Coca-Cola, which is a direct competitor and has a direct substitute for all these products, has its offerings in Thumbs Up, Coke, Fanta, Sprite, and Limca. So, you know, so for every product that PepsiCo produces, Thumbs Up has a direct substitute, and I'd like to give you an example of that. PepsiCo produces Mirinda, and Coca-Cola has Fanta as a direct substitute for it. And there are also other players like Torino, Zalta, and Aap Cola, which majorly perform in rural areas, and their market share is also very low. I'd now like to talk about the regional options, which is the Nimbus Masala Soda, which are more available in rural markets. That is an offering by PepsiCo. Coca-Cola offers Rimzim and Color, whereas there are other players in Bovento, Soso, and Jayanti. In the mango drink market, PepsiCo has its offerings in Slice, whereas Coca-Cola has in Maaza. And there is one major competitor here, which is Fruity by Parle Agro. Fruity here has the major market share, followed by Maaza and then by Slice. In the fruit juice market, PepsiCo has Tropicana, Coca-Cola has Minute Maid, and there are many other players in this market which are Real Juices, Raw Pressure, Paperboard, Fresca. These market has been growing a lot, and hence there are major competitors in this market. Uh, in the sports segment, PepsiCo has Gatorade, whereas Coca-Cola has Powerade, and there are also other players like Krung, Cloudline, and Moto. In the energy-based market, Coca-Cola offers Sting, which is newly launched in their product line, and also has Mountain Dew Game and Monster by Coca-Cola, and there's a major competitor in terms of Red Bull. But if you see, Sting has been released as a cheap substitute for Red Bull. Sting is only available for 30 rupees, whereas Red Bull is quite expensive than that. If talking about the water segment, PepsiCo has in offerings in Aquafina, whereas Coca-Cola has it offerings in Kinley. But there's also a major market player which is Bisleri and Bailey. Now talking about the soda segment, PepsiCo produces Everest, Coca-Cola has an offering in Kinley, and Bisleri soda is also a major competitor here. So now talking about what is PepsiCo's market share in the industry. So I'll talk in terms of volume share and in terms of value share. Talking first about the volume share. In packaged drinking water space, where PepsiCo offers Aquafina, it has a share of about 4.6%. In the carbonated soda beverages, it has a share of around 28%. And this was around 22% in 2016. So PepsiCo has demonstrated great growth in the last 2 years. In the still drinks market, it is around 11%. In nectars and juice, it is around 20% each. And in sports drinks, it is 2.5%. And company is expecting to acquire more share here. Uh, Hello, can everyone hear me? Varun, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, Varun, can you hear me?
Yes, go
Okay.
on.
Okay. No, I read a message in the comment that can't hear anything. Okay. Now talking about the value share, the packaged drinking water has 5%. CSD has 30%, which is the carbonated soft drinks market. Still drinks has 11.5%. Juice and nectars with 20% again, and sport drinks being 2.5%, and energy is 9%. Energy drinks. So when I talked about the industry players, there were major two players, which were PepsiCo and Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages, as we all know. So I'd like to tell you why Varun Beverages is better than Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages. So this is a chart of the return on shared capital. It is from the calendar year 14 to the current year 19, to the last year 19. So if you can see, the return on invested capital for Varun Beverages has been positive and has been growing at a very decent rate, and it is very higher than that of Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages. On the other hand, if you see Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages return on invested capital, it raised the negative values in the year 17, and then it has grown back to 4.2%, but which is very low than that of Varun Beverages. This was mainly because of the three reasons. First of them being lower raw material cost. So the raw material cost for Varun Beverages is around 47% of the total sales, whereas for Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages, it is about 51 to 52%. One more thing which added to its benefits was no refund policy. So Varun Beverages does not take any refunds, whereas no refund on refund or of their product, whereas Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages takes back expired or damaged packages from its supply chain, which leads to higher other expenses. And this all resulted in higher margins, which has also one of the reasons why the return on invested capital for Varun Beverages is good. So now I'd like to talk about the business model of the company. Manufacturing, as you can see, the company has a solid infrastructure. It manufactures high quality beverages across 38 state-of-the-art facilities, which have advantage of backward integration. So their technologies are very new and are very robust. Distribution and warehousing, robust supply chain management. So they have a deep penetration with an extensive supply chain network, which has 90 plus owned depots, 2,500 plus owned vehicles, and 1,500 plus primary distributors. Customer management, which is the demand delivery, they undertake local level promotion and in-store activation. They have installed around 7,75,000 VZ coolers, which ensures that the consumers can easily notice and enjoy the beverages. Basically, to tell you what is a VZ cooler, it is an refrigerator which stores these beverages. You can see them outside any store. Then they think about the in-market execution, which is the market share gains. They focus on category and volume growth, which helps them to boost their sales. Uh, then the cost efficiency, which is the margin expansion. So the expanding operating, expanding operating cash flows give them economies of scales, and additionally, due to the latest technologies that are available, they achieve logistical and production efficiency. The cash management, which is the ROE expansion and future growth. So they have been practicing disciplined capex investment for ROE expansion, and they have taken initiatives to achieve better working capital. The next slides will be continued by my friend Varun.
What is mode? Mode is a business ability to maintain the competitive advantage over its competitor in order to protect its long-term profit and market share. So Varun Beverages is a good mode. They have a franchisee rights all over the India except two states, Telangana and the Jammu and Kashmir. They have also global footprints in Nepal, Africa, Sri Lanka, and Zimbabwe, Morocco, and Zambia. In Morocco and Zimbabwe, they are seeing around more than 20% growth. Uh, and now talking about the product line, they have all category product line. They have health drink, energy drink, carbonated drink, and the water also. And they have manufacturing plant all over the India, which are closer to the higher demand area. So that they don't need a higher transportation charge for transporting. And the majority of the Indian population live in hot and dry region. That's why they are thinking the growth in this sector is increasing. Now talk about the geographical footprint. In 2016, they have only present in north and the northeast, but in 2019 they acquire south as well as west, uh, and, and for this acquisition they sell their stake 5% through QIPs, and now they are present in all over India, and also their presence, global presence, you can see in yellow color, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Zambia, and all that. And now talking about the vesiculus. Vesiculus is the refrigerator where the transparent glass door is there. It's mainly used for branding and drive penetrations in the market, and also motivate the retailers. In 2016, there were around 4,58,000 vesiculars, but now they are increasing yearly by 40,000 and more. They have around 7,75,000 vesiculars right now in the market. And after that, we will talk about the distribution channel. They have own distribution channels. It will help him to grow itself and not depend on the third party. And primary distributor contribute around 85% of the overall volume of the Varun beverages. They have around 1,500 primary distributors. And now talk about the transportation vehicles. They have around 2,500 transportation vehicles, which will help them to transport the product from manufacturing facilities to the distributors. And in COVID, their supply chain is hardly impacted because they have own distribution and own transportation vehicles, so they don't facing any problem. Now talking about the merger and acquisitions, they acquired 20% stake in the Lunarmec Technology Private Limited, which make plastic bottle caps and the crown cap. And after acquisition, 20% they hold around 55% stake in the Lunarmec Technology, and Angelica Technology Private Limited they acquired them. And the Angelica Private Limited manufacture analog data processing machines and control elements and program elements. It's a accounting machines which is help for accounting. And both now talk about the key development in 2019. You all know they acquired the territories in north, in south as well as west. Now also they sign a trademark license agreement with the PepsiCo uh, for up to 239, and they raise 9,000 million rupees through QIPs, and also they introduce ambient temperature dairy beverages under the sub brand of Creambell. And they also purchased two product facilities, and due to the corporate tax reduction they show the profit in the balance sheet in 2019. Now talking about the conference call, sales volume is they said that their sales volume is impacted due to the COVID and the lockdown. And VBL acquire almost all the territories in India, so there is a no need of the further debt for expansion. Now they use their cash for the debt repayment, and now demand will impacted due to COVID-19. But in further after lockdown one, demand has increasing, and now on June 12, promoter Vivek Gupta sold around 11,000 shares. When we asked about this in con call, they said that it's a insider trade, and then they didn't give the more information on this. And they are still trying to maintain the margins because the raw material costs are decreasing, and it will help them to maintain the margin in COVID situation also. Further part will be explained by Yash.
Before I move ahead, I'd like to answer a question raised by Mr. Chirag Thakkar. No, so only PepsiCo's products in food category, those are not handled by Varun Beverages. Only the beverages line is handled by Varun Beverages. So I'd like to give you financial performance and other highlights. So before that, I'd like to give you some COVID-19 updates which has happened and which has disrupted the whole industry. So VBL had built up additional stock of inventory in the month of March. So what they do is quarter two, which is they follow calendar year, and hence quarter two, which is April, May, and June. These are the months which are which we face summer, and these are the months where their products are demanded more. So what VBL does is it produces more in March so that it can service to the higher demand, and it did that this year also. They produced some extra stock in March, and they have been able to sell most of their inventory. And some of their plants, as you know, because of the lockdown, the April month was completely gone, and their plants were only operational after April 20th. Um, and whichever plants are operational now are in a position to supply whatever the demand is, and 30 to 40% of the consumption was on the go. Basically, what on the go means is whenever people who are roaming in the market, they they see these beverages and they like to consume them. So last year, 30 to 40% of that consumption of the total sales number was on the go, and 10% of the sales was institutional. So this is an advantage for them in this time because all the institutions are pretty much closed down, and so the sales number for institutional will not affect them a lot. And the company has also not availed any moratorium for its debt. So this isn't slide, but I wanted to show you the relief in their uncertain times. So the chart you can see is the chart of sugar price, and you can see that the sugar price has considerably dropped in the past few months. And down you can see that the concentrate which they acquired from Pepsi and also which they make for their other products forms about 12% of the total sales. And sugar in the last year it also formed about 12% of the total sales. So we are expecting that to go down, which will help them to maintain their EBITDA and other margins. So what PET? PET is basically an polyester which is used to make plastic bottles and containers for their products. So it formed about 9.4% of the total sales, and there are other materials also which have been listed down. So the sales growth analysis. So in 2017, they had about 4,004 crore sales, and in 2019, because of their acquisition of the whole territories in India, the sales have grown to a very good level of about 7,130 crores, and we expect it to drop to about 5,552 crores because of the COVID impact and majorly because of lockdown. And so demand for these products are basically when people are roaming in the market and when the economy is booming and when people are winding up in the market. But since due to lockdown, all those things have been stopped. So we expect a drop in 2020, and the assumption that has been made here is that in the quarter two of 2021, we expect all the issues regarding COVID to settle down, and hence we have grown the sales from them. And as you can see, the sales will be growing at a very good rate because of the under penetration of Indian markets and the territories that it has acquired lately. So the compounded sales growth for 5 years, from 2015 to 2019, was around 20.8%, and in 3 years, from 2017 to 19, it was about 22.68%. This is also a few charts about few of the things. First one is the net revenue from operations. It grew at an CAGR of around 20.8% from 2015 to 19. Then I'd like to talk about the EBITDA and EBITDA margin. The EBITDA grew at a rate of around 22.9% CAGR from 15 to 19. And if you can see also the margins, they've also been quite stable from 18.7 to 20.3. Now talking about the PAT and PAT margin, the PAT grew at a very good rate of 52.6% CAGR, uh, and the PAT margins have also been increasing from 2.6% to 6.6% in the last year. Now the net worth and the net debt to equity ratio. So the net worth has also been increasing at a good CAGR of around 55.5% from 2015 to 19, and the net debt to equity ratio is also decreased a bit and is expected that it will also improve. So the growth rate that we are assuming for forecasting future is around 12%, which I mentioned earlier as the overall industry growth. We have taken uh, better growth rates than industry because of the place that Varun Beverages has in the industry with little or no competition at all. These are the key margins that I've shown in the chart with the future estimates. So if you can see in the year 2020, the margins are going to drop a lot from 21 to 13%, and the PAT margin is going to be negative. This is majorly because of the huge capex that they have done and their other expenses, employee cost, depreciation, and the interest payment that they have to do being in line with the numbers in 2019, and sales volume being not that great. That is why we are seeing a negative PAT and a drop in the EBITDA margins. This is the sales volume mix. Basically, what this is the total amount of the volume they sold. If you can see, in 2012 it was 114 in India and 22 in international markets. But in 2019, it has grown at a very good rate to about 404 in India to 89 in international markets. If you see from 2018 to 2019, there is a very huge jump. This is mainly because of the acquired territories in the southern and western parts of India, which helps them to service to the whole of India, and hence growth is seen in both domestic and international markets. If you see the country-wise analysis, I've also shown that in Sri Lanka, the year-on-year growth was about 11.9%. In Nepal, it was about 8.4%. In Zambia, it was a negative 38.2%. And this is mainly because there were many other competitors who entered that market. In Zimbabwe, it was 21%, and in Morocco, it was 40%, which Zimbabwe and Morocco being the high growth markets and the future focus for the company. So this is the volume breakup for 2019. As I showed you, the total volume in 2019 was about 493 million cases. Out of them, 70% was about 70% of that came from about carbonated soft drinks. 22% came from packaged drinking water, and another 6.7% came from fruit juice and juice-based drinks. This is the volume mix with our estimates for the future. If you see the graph on the left hand side, we have shown how the volume numbers are expected to move, and you can also see that the volume numbers from water and juice segments are expected to grow at a very good rate. Also because there is an increased focus on juice and water segments, and companies expecting to launch many new products like flavored water and addition in the juice segments. On the right hand side, we have shown the volume share of water, juice, and carbonated soda beverages. In 2016, the soda beverages formed about 80% of the total volume, but we are expecting that to come down and it to be around 59% into 2030, and the share of water and juice segments to grow up as the year proceeds. So as I told you that the company follows calendar year, so I wanted to highlight why is summer important for Varun Beverages. So we have summer seasons in April, May, and June, which is quarter two for the company. And if you can see that the quarter two contributes about 40% of the annual sales and about 55 to 60% of the annual EBITDA. So that is why the company is facing a very huge. That is why the company will face a loss, which we predicted, which we are forecasting, because of the main quarter being impacted by COVID and April being completely locked down and May and June also being almost completely locked down. I'd like to talk about the financial statements now. This is the profit and loss statement, and as you can see from the calendar year 17 to 18, there was a growth of about 27% and then a growth of about 39%. And in 20, we are expecting it to be it to fall down about 22%, majorly because of the key quarter being impacted by COVID and the same other quarters also being impacted by COVID. And we expect that the growth to come down in the quarter two of 21, and that is why you can see a huge jump in the percentage growth of sales YOY, and in 22 it to be around 10%, 11%. As I told you, because of the COVID, the company's favorable season being impacted, and all the other quarters too, we have we expect that the company will post a loss of about 94 crores. This is only because that their other expenses, employee cost, depreciation, and their interest payments will be in terms and will be the same on or grow a little bit on the level of 2019, but the sales are not growing at the same rate. This is the profit and loss statement. This is the balance sheet, sorry, the asset side of the balance sheet and our estimates for the future. The liabilities side with our estimates for the future. So the company has been generating very good cash flow from operations and will continue to do so. This is the cash flow from investing and financial activities, and you can see that the company will close with a good amount of cash on its books. These are some of the key ratios, like debt to equity, and we are expecting, as indication by the management, that they are planning to not do any major capex, and they are wanting to reduce their debt. Uh, we can also see net debt to EBITDA. Why we have taken EBITDA is because EBITDA is more liquid in compared to equity. The return on invested capital was around 13.2% in the current calendar year 17, and it will drop a bit because of the COVID impact and is expected to grow to uh, the levels which it was previously and do better than that. These are also some of the key other ratios. So this is a DCF valuation. We have taken a terminal growth of about 4%. That is how we expect at the least the Indian market to grow in the future years. And the value per share that we arrived as at was around 739, which is about 2.4% more than the current market price of 707. So I'll also give you a peer comparison of Varun Beverages with other companies. If you can see, the EBITDA margins of Varun Beverages is around 20%, which is, except Nestle, it is better than most other companies. Also, the return on invested capital for Varun Beverages is growing at a very good rate of around 42 and is expected to do well in the future years. And it's only less than Nestle and Britannia and is better than all of the other companies which are there in this segment. These are some other companies. This is a chart which shows the company's return on equity with compared to its PEG ratio. If you can see that Varun Beverages is in a very comfortable position, Nestle being the best in this. This is the 1 year forwarded price to book value. So as you can see, the company recently hit its all-time low on the price to book value band chart since its inception, and this is also an indicator that the book value of the company is very low in accordance to what the performance of the company is. The same being in price to earnings band chart, and it shows the similar trend. That's it from our side. Thank you. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
Hello. First, I want to give the answer to the Shriram sir, who was holding the other state contributor earlier. PepsiCo holds the north, west and the south part. They sell to the Varun Beverages. The main reason for the selling the franchisee rights is their relationship with the Varun Beverages from last 28 years, and the second is they are seeing the less growth as compared to the north. And in north, the all the manufacturing, packaging and distribution are done by the Varun Beverages, and they are seeing the growth rate. And but in south they are not seeing the that much growth rate. That's why they sell the all manufacturing plant to the Varun Beverages, and that's all.
Also, I'd like to add to that uh, that previously the franchisee rights were owned by SMV Group, and Varun Beverages has the SMV Group had a lot of franchisee rights on the southern part of India, and Varun Beverages has acquired all of those rights from them for the sales and manufacturing of PepsiCo's products. Yes, sir. One second. I'll just move on to the DCF summary slide again. Yeah. Yes, sure. The PPT will be given to you. Yes, yes. Yes, yes, it is included in the capex. Yes, 739 is the interesting value right now. Sure. The competitive advantage that the company is holding is that it has lower raw materials than compared to its other competitors. Its uh, margins are better than other competitors. Its market share have been growing. They have been introducing more products in the segments of juices and energy drinks, which are very high growth market, and they have now acquired sales and distribution for all of the PepsiCo's beverages line in India. Also, they have presence in other high growth markets like Zambia, Morocco, Zimbabwe, Nepal, and these markets are very underpenetrated, and so is Indian market. I like to quote a saying by management, and he said that they had a target of about 650 million in the year 21, which is mainly due to the underpenetration of the Indian markets. So we expect those all those to be an competitive advantage over other companies.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh, Ramaprasad sir asked that can you explain regarding the insider trading as was mentioned? Uh, sir, Vivek Gupta is the son-in-law of the Ravi Jaipuria. Just a second. He's the son-in-law of the Ravi Jaipuria, and he is selling stake not much higher. Only 11,000 shares is shared by them, and only this information is available.
I'd like to answer a question asked by Ma'am Simran Singh. Is that did you use different growth assumptions for carbonated soft drink segment, water and juices? Yes, I did assume different growth assumptions. Basically, for the carbonated soft drink markets, we expected that to be negative in this coming quarters, mainly because of COVID and people's attention to consume hot water and uh, not take anything cold which can held on to their health concerns. So I've taken negative, not negative, but a little less or stable growth in the carbonated soft drinks market, and the juice and the other juice segments I expect it to grow, and that is why I've taken a growth rate in the juice segments and the water to be stable, as water is also consumed when people are in the market, and I've assumed it to be stable or less. Yeah, it caters to international market as well. It as I showed in the presentation, it caters to Nepal, Sri Lanka, Zambia, Morocco, and right now it plans to cater to these markets. But you never know in the coming years if it tries to move on to other markets as well. The south was underpenetrated. Yeah, so the south was majorly underpenetrated because the franchisee rights with the SMV group previously held, they were not able to service the products of PepsiCo's to meet the consumer ends. So that is one of the main reason why. And with Varun Beverages and the production and operating efficiency is as it has with backward integration, we expect them to take more advantage of it, and thus they'll be able to get more sales out of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sriram sir questions. Can you
Uh,
see?
no, I am not. I'm not able to see sir's questions.
Last third question, Sri Ram Singh sir.
Mr. Ram Prasad Patro is asking what will be the impact of COVID on the next calendar year. There's a recovery in next year at 37%. So yeah, that is one of my key assumptions that we assume that all the issues regarding COVID to settle down around quarter two of 21, and quarter two being the main earning quarter of the company. We That is why we have assumed growth in quarter two. Arun, do you see any other questions that you'd like to
Mm,
answer?
No, I think we will answer all of them.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for patiently listening to us, and we hope that we were of any help to all of you. We would like to thank Vinit sir for giving us this guidance, and all of this is his teachings, and we would not be able to do any of it without him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And if anyone have a query, please ping us and we
Sure
will
to
tell.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.